before I just call on, I'd like to, Minister, are you happy to take it from that seat? Because of COVID, that would be ideal. Thank you again, Minister, and the floor is yours.
Do you want me to allow the Minister to leave?
Yeah. Thank you, Minister. Senator Fitzpatrick.
Guramagat Cahirlock, and welcome, Minister, and thank you for joining us in the Seanad today. The commencement matter that I have raised is the issue of the proposed Metrolink service. So the Metro, an underground integrated rail service, was first proposed for Dublin back in 2001. So we're 20 years on talking about some sort of an underground frequent rail service. Metrolink is progressing, and my understanding is that Transport Infrastructure Ireland have been working and progressing their plans and intend lodging a railway order that will deliver. I was going to say, yeah. Do you want me to start, or come on? Okay, so the Metrolink project will give the potential of high-speed, frequent underground rail service from the city centre out to the airport within 20 minutes. It's a hugely important project, and it is one that I am supportive of. However, I think we need to, and the reason I raise this in the Seanad is because the TII are progressing with their project, and I want to acknowledge the public consultations that they have engaged in and conducted during COVID, albeit over Zoom. But the project will run all the way from, at the moment, St. Stephen's Green, from Charlemont actually, Stephen's Green, out through O'Connell Street, where it potentially will have an exit onto our National Monument site at Moore Street and O'Connell Street, up onto the Mater, just by the Mater campus and on Berkeley Road, where it will have an entrance on the park there at Berkeley Road and Eccles Street, on further then to Crossguns Bridge in Glasnevin, where there is a proposal to have a station, a very significant train station, demolition of some retail and the historic Hedigans pub, but also it is going to run under residential properties from there at Dalcassian up over under Botanic Road and Movie Road to Griffith Park, and then beyond there to Albert College Park, where there is a proposal for an overground shaft, and then beyond that to Ballymun, Collins Avenue and beyond. And it does have the potential to open up lands beyond Ballymun for housing and other regeneration. So there is a lot of positives in this project, but there are a couple of concerns, Minister, that I'd like you to address. And I suppose the first one is this. There was a commitment given to do a feasibility study on extending the proposed Metrolink from Charlemont going west, southwest in the city, out towards Terranure and Walkinstown. And I believe that it would be important that that feasibility study is completed before any railway order application is made. Secondly, I've described the route. And it is a very long route, significant residential communities along that route, also commercial properties and community facilities along the route. When Metro North was being proposed, I worked with the residents from the Griffith Avenue and District Residents Association, and the government at the time appointed an independent expert to support residents to engage in the process. It is critically important that an independent expert is appointed as soon as possible to support residents in this project. And Minister, I draw your attention to the fact that residents are already receiving letters asking them to engage in the process, and it's not fair to ask residents to engage in a process where they don't have any independent expert support. It is a huge project. The estimates are it'll be in the region of 3 to 5 billion euros, and residents are not equipped, and property owners along this line are not equipped, no matter how well-intentioned they are, to engage in a project and a process this significant without the support of independent expert and advice. Guramagat.
Thank you, Senator Fitzpatrick. Minister, you're very welcome to the House.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Senator. And on behalf of my colleague, Minister Ryan, I thank the Senator for the opportunity to address this issue in the House today. As the House is aware, government is committed to a fundamental change in the nature of transport in Ireland, and part of that change is about investing in major public transport infrastructure projects such as Metrolink in Dublin. Investing in public transport benefits citizens through making it easier to travel to where they want to go. It benefits the environment through providing low carbon alternatives to the private car, and it benefits the economy through reducing congestion and making it easier for people to access jobs. And I'd like to think that this House recognises those benefits and will work with government as we look to make these hugely important improvements to our transport system. But obviously at local and community level there will be varying opinions and impacts about aspects of certain projects. And one way of addressing these opinions and impacts is ensuring that people have the opportunity to voice them, is to ensure that our state agencies put in place the type of extensive and inclusive consultation processes like we've seen happen with Metrolink. This is a massive project, probably the largest ever seen in the state, and it's one that's been through extensive non-statutory public consultation to date. Consultation processes that have examined all aspects of the proposal, from the route itself, to the type of service, to the location of stations, to how it links up with the rest of the public transport network. And projects like Metrolink benefit from that type of extensive public consultation. Metrolink certainly has, and we've all seen how aspects of the project have changed as the consultation periods took place during 2018 and 2019. Those consultations have informed the development of the project's preliminary business case, which was in recent weeks submitted to the Department of Transport for its review under the Public Spending Code. As that review kicks off, work is continuing on developing all the necessary environmental assessments and planning documentation. But submission of the preliminary business case is a really important milestone for the project. It means that following this review, the project can be brought to government for its approval to enter the statutory planning system. And if approved by government, then that statutory planning system will ensure that citizens have another chance to make their views known. Now, in relation to the specific location of Albert Park, and as the Senator is aware, the extensive planning, design and consultation on Metrolink has concluded that it is not an appropriate location for a station. I'm informed that's based on the location of the proposed stations at Griffith Park and Collins Avenue. I'm also told that if a station was proposed for Albert Park, that it would require considerably more land than that required for the proposed ventilation shaft at the location, with knock-on implications for construction schedule and ultimately cost. However, I can confirm that Transport Infrastructure Ireland have committed to pay for independent expert advice and assistance for those local communities with alternative perspectives to develop their thinking ahead of the planning process. I understand this expert advisor will be available to the communities by June, and I very much welcome the assistance being provided by TII to these local communities.
Okay, Gurmagad, Minister, and I appreciate your response. I think it's important that we note, you said yourself, this is going to be the biggest infrastructure project in the history of the state. The Metro was built back in London in 1863, in Paris in 1900, and in New York in 1904. They're over 100 years old. We're building infrastructure that is going to be here for decades to come. It is going to be here in 100, 150, 200 years. So I would ask you, Minister, to go back to TII on the issue of the Albert College site. I accept that you have been informed that that site has been determined based on the location of the other two stations on either side of it. But I really do urge you, Minister, to go back to TII and ask them to engage in looking at the Griffith Park site, the Collins Avenue site and the Albert College site. Don't shortchange the community in Ballymun and in Glasnevin by giving them an overground shaft as opposed to a station. The people of Ballymun and the north side deserve a station as much as anybody else, and I urge you, Minister, to go back and ask them to look at that element, but also to complete the feasibility on the southwest route prior to going to a railway order application. Gurmagad.
Thank you, Senator Fitzpatrick. Minister, you've up to a minute to reply.
Thank you. Yeah, the studies undertaken for the emerging preferred route alignment identified that stations close to Collins Avenue and at Griffith Park were appropriate station locations. If the provision of a station at Albert College was to be advanced, it would need to be in the same vicinity as the proposed intervention shaft. But as noted at a recent meeting with residents groups and local representatives, this will require a larger permanent land take than for the intervention shaft. A larger construction area with a longer construction period would also be necessary. Overall, the cost of a station at this location would add considerably to the cost of the overall project, and accordingly such provision is not considered to be appropriate given the other station locations and the characteristics of this location. I will take your points back to Minister Ryan when I see him next, and just to give a little bit more information about the the assistance that will be provided to the residents as well. A tender process is currently underway to secure those services. The final return date for the closing stage of the independent expert competition is May the 17th, and this will be followed by a short evaluation period, and the independent expert will be appointed as early as possible in June.
Thank you very much, Minister, and thanks for facilitating that changeover of time at the end of commencement matters. That concludes today's commencement matters.